Greenwich offense that the Cardinals have not had in the last couple of years. Behind the back! Oh, what a play! Goggin, the lefty, to Fitterin, who finishes. Richfield had the backer. Dunn running straight in. It's a goal for the Tigers.
He tiptoes the crease, gets it in front for Reed, and he scores! John Reed, and it's over. 59 seconds into overtime.
Hey.
I think right now, we're fair if we say right now that Connecticut this year has the best lacrosse in the tri-state.
Yeah, when you look at, if you're going to just go with the big four, the strength of your top four, like you got to enter, if you're a region in the tri-state, New York, Connecticut, Long Island, New Jersey, you got to enter 4 teams. I would think the top 4 in Connecticut, they would win that battle.
Well, who are you leaving out for Connecticut?
Well, I'm just saying, you want to take 5? Or you want to add?
No, I want to see who you're going to leave out.
No, I mean, it's the 4 teams.
It's
the 4 teams from the FCAC, and you're going to add Fairfield Prep as the top 5.
No, but let's
just
the
big 5.
If you had to leave one in Connecticut out, who would you leave out right now?
See, it's difficult because Fairfield Prep has handed Greenwich their only loss.
Yes.
That's
a great question.
That's sort of the elephant in the room
Yeah.
with this whole thing. New Canaan is the 2-time defending champs, but looked a little vulnerable in their game against Greenwich. Okay, I mean, they would admit they didn't play well, but that was a big spot not to play well.
Buddy, I said at the end of last week's Top 20 show, do you remember what I said about Greenwich? If they win their next 2 games, they become the most relevant team in the tri-state. Guess who won 2?
Yeah, and I think the biggest game in the tri-state this week is in Connecticut. Super Saturday, Darien and Greenwich.
I agree 100%.
I think it's the biggest game in the tri-state.
It could be the biggest game in America.
Yeah, because of the fact that when the one thing lacrosse gives us is teams play other teams. Okay, so it's a lot of fun. We don't get that in football. Outside of the New Jersey teams who travel the world.
Right.
The fact that Darien has handed Niskayuna their only loss of the season.
Right.
And Niskayuna is so involved, intimately with the Long Island superpowers.
Right.
And they're, that's relevant. Because now you have Darien beating Niskay. Now you got Darien and Greenwich. Where does Greenwich stand? You see a lot of sort of parallels there.
You know who could mess up Super Saturday? The top 2 teams in the Hudson Valley. Thursday night, Darien goes to Yorktown.
Wow.
Thursday night, Bronxville
not going to be
comes to Greenwich.
Yeah, and Bronxville. Be careful if you're Greenwich looking at Bronxville's record. Like, oh, Bronxville, they have 4 losses. Come on.
New Canaan had beat Greenwich 4 games in a row. The game on Thursday afternoon was a rematch of last year's FCI championship. A game that New Canaan won. Buzzio in his first year beat Scotty Bulkley.
Harry the Hat, yeah.
And they win the game. This time they jumped him early, and I think when you go back to last year, which I love to do in the regular season, there was a moment last year in the regular season where you started to wonder about Greenwich. Do you know what the score was last year in the regular season when they played New Canaan?
No.
12-0. Now, if I'm not mistaken, New Canaan beat them 12-0 in the regular season. Now, if I'm not mistaken,
shut them out.
Shut them out. I think some Greenwich kids missed the game that day.
Off
memory.
Because that's not an easy thing to do.
I have got Scotty Bulkley. You got to I need your cell phone number. Okay, so if anybody at Greenwich is watching, tell the coach I need his cell. I can't track him down. I can never.
Some of the lacrosse guys are tough to track down.
Yeah, because a lot of them don't teach at the school
Yeah,
and
they're
stuff
right.
like that.
Yeah.
Right now, who's might be playing the best offensive lacrosse in the tri-state? Luke Finneran from Greenwich.
Yes.
He is. Wait till you see. Well, you saw the goal.
No, I mean, listen.
He's just.
And he. It's not just goals you're talking about.
Assists.
Wonderful assists in this game. And there was a point in the second quarter of this game where Finneran took over and didn't score a goal. I think he had 4 straight assists in the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is like a 9-minute period in the game where he's got 4 straight assists. That is the proverbial quarterback of the offense.
Well, Greenwich jumps them early.
Yeah.
They win it. Let's take a look at the highlights. Steve Young Stadium, where here we go. New Canaan's going to take a 1-0 lead. Harry Stanton.
Harry the Hat.
gives it to Michael Kraus, 1-0. But then my man, Decker Curran, the junior going to Michigan, that's just a flat-out worm burger. And man, can Petrocoro shoot lacrosse. And here's Kraus, going to go to UVA next year. Wow. Just a little turn-back dunk shot. So it's 2-1, so pretty good. Here come the Cards. Bobby Goggin, excuse me. Look at that. Little Deke in front. Beats Nader, a terrific goalie. Finneran with the pass, as you said. Here's James Tower from Finneran. And just like that, the Cardinals up.
Team plays tight around the crease, Mike Greenwich. They have great feel for each other right around the crease. And some of these passes, I mean, our resident lacrosse guru, Bobby Stack, made that observation early and often in watching these highlights.
Scooter Harrington, the score there off the Finneran assist. And then right down Main Street, Curran puts them up 5-2. Guess who had the assist? Finneran. And then Will Perry, a wonderful player. Sometimes gets overlooked on this team, but number 10 is very good. Very good. So that was part one of the equation, atoned from the 12-0 loss a year ago. So a year ago, after they lost to New Canaan 12-0, guess who came calling? They drove to Mineola.
Chaminade.
And they got their fannies handed to them. So on back-to-back games last year, Greenwich collectively would lose to New Canaan and Chaminade 24-5. This was payback week for Greenwich. This was redemption week for Greenwich. And right now, when you look at this Greenwich team and they have all the wonderful scores and the big bad dudes on defense, right now, to me,
Jack Nail
going to Holy Cross. Yeah. I mean, he is
covered
terrific.
Stanton in this game, did a really good job. You have to limit Harry Stanton's productivity when you take on New Canaan. That's what Jack Nail did. And Coach Bulkley reminded all the reporters after that game what a good job he did.
Well, Shippus is terrific back there.
Yep.
Cole Perry, terrific. Harrington, terrific. Okay, but right now, it's going to be tough to beat this Greenwich team if Rogan continues to play in the goal the way he does, and your boy Mike Sullivan just wins face-off after face-off.
Yeah.
So Rogan had 14 saves against the Rams. Sully had 9 face-off wins. The two of them now, when Chaminade comes rolling in, okay? Rogan, 15 saves. Sully won 15 of 21 face-offs. They're going to be a very, very difficult team to beat if those two guys can perform at the middle and the back.
You know, last year when Chaminade whooped Greenwich, it wasn't the fact that they beat them, but it was, you know, sometimes when these big teams play, somebody wins 10-9, you know, 12-10. You're like, all right, good game. Right. One team's firepower won out in the end. But in a game like that, it was by how many, okay? And ironically enough, a year later, this time at Greenwich, it wasn't the fact that the Cardinals won this game, but again, it was because of by how many.
You're right. They jumped them early. You know, Chaminade got there a little late. They had some tests. No excuse. You're Chaminade. You know, you got to go there, and you know you're going to face adversity.
Yeah.
And Greenwich proved that they are truly one of the best teams in America.
Woohoo!
Back out.
America's
the
team.
Steve Young Stadium. There's Isnardi with the save. But then
on the ride, look at this.
Finneran.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, he's just...
And defense into offense, lightning quick.
Yep.
You know,
so, Goggins with the steal, Finneran the goal. Now it's 2-0. My man Jamie Paradise, it sure was after that goal, made it 3-0. Chaminade now, they're going to cut it to a 3-1 lead. Bonafide.
Sam the Bam.
Gets the goal. And now we go to the second quarter when Ryan Flippin, another one of these wonderfully talented, over the top, hits Isnardi in the face mask, and the Army bounder can't regroup. The ball trickles in. It's 4-3 now when Loyola bound Kyle Foote. This cat, if this guy, he's like an AAU basketball player, the way he plays lacrosse. Got a lot of show to his
swagger,
game.
man. That is swagger.
Yeah, he's got the big flowing hairdo, the whole thing.
I love it,
Third quarter, Finneran. Wow. Man. Wow. Just this team's fun, man. When they got it going, they are really, really tough. Here's Foote again. Look at him load up. Yeah, if you don't put a guy in his face, he's next to impossible to score. And then Finneran again. Jimmy, this is spectacular, and this is when you know this ball game is over.
Oh, yeah.
Because if he had missed that, Bulkley would have lit him up. But he's feeling it.
You know?
He's feeling really good. And listen, I told you when I went up there to watch them earlier this year against Wilton, talking to Curran after the game, talking to Nails after the game, I brought up Chaminade.
Yeah.
And I said how that would be a litmus test for this group. Listen, you take the 8-7 4-overtime victory against Ridgefield, terrific. Now everybody opens up your eyes.
Yeah.
Here comes Greenwich,
yeah.
right? You have the convincing victory over Wilton. You see what they do against New Canaan. Their bread would be buttered, what they did Saturday in Greenwich. And for Finneran and the boys, test. While Chaminade was taking tests early in the day, Greenwich passed theirs in the afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, every time in the beginning of the season you see Chaminade on your schedule, you always cross that date. I mean, they're a great team, have a bunch of Division I verbal commits on the team. So every time you can beat a team like that, it's just tremendous for the program and for your team.
Many highlights and standout players today, a lot of great moments, but perhaps none better than your behind-the-back moment.
Yeah.
Did you see that one coming as you were making the cut?
I actually didn't think he was going to pass to me. It was a great dodge by him, and kind of just put my stick out, and he threw it at me, and I was afraid to God that I'd scored. Luckily, it went in.
You know what, though? It's funny. You know, sometimes you sit in a set of bleachers and somebody tries a behind-the-back shot, and inevitably you hear some people behind like, oh, come on, stop the fancy stuff. But it was probably about 10 years ago when I first started working with Kark. And, you know, a kid in that kind of situation, kind of a cut in front of the crease, tries that, and the goalie saves it, and we go to commercial, and I take my headset off. I go, Kark, why are you trying the Showtime stuff there? And he goes, Jimmy, that's the right play.
It's true.
Because
he had no angle.
You're increasing your angle by going behind your back. That's just the prudent play. And from that moment on, I'm always like defending the behind-the-back guys. Like, oh, no, that was the right angle. But, you know, listen, the one thing that is so obvious, look, sometimes in lacrosse, you try and analyze a team by seeing where their guys are going to. Sometimes that could be misleading, okay? You try and analyze a team by their schedule, whatever. But Greenwich passes the eye test from the standpoint. Mike, look at the flow, the confidence, the controlled swagger that they play with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you see it before your eyes. The chemistry. You know, they had a disappointing year last year, okay, from their standards. But the one positive was they were all coming back.
No doubt.
You know what I mean? And Braymeyer told me that when I was getting ready for the Darien-Manhasset game, and he said, Greenwich brought everybody back. He broke it down for me, Braymeyer. Braymeyer said, look, here you go. We are what we are. We got a goalie coming back. We like what we are. He goes, Greenwich, he goes, Ridgefield is the preseason pick. New Canaan is the two-time defending champ. And he goes, Greenwich has got everybody coming back.
Really?
Yeah. So it was like, that was his quick little breakdown. But it's always nice when you bring them all back.
Well, they need everybody because here's just a little skeleton synopsis of what they've done so far. Great win in 4 overtimes against Ridgefield. Great win against New Canaan. Convincing win against Chaminade. How can a bad loss be against the number 17 team in the Tri-State? I'll tell you in a second. And again, as far as Greenwich goes, a very difficult schedule the rest of the week. Host Bronxville, go to Darien, 1 o'clock on Saturday. Here's why. You know, the flu bug, I don't know if it got up there in Rockland County, but in Fairfield County, that flu bug the last couple weeks has been rolling through Fairfield County. I mean, Bry got it, I got it.
It's a tough year, yeah.
You know, so here's the thing.
Didn't I see Raph out here doing the girls' lacrosse show with a mask on?
Yes, because he didn't want to get sick. Here's the thing if you're Greenwich. Do not use illness as a crutch for the Fairfield prep loss. And here's why. Because I've heard maybe they said they weren't feeling that good. And I'm going to find this out on Saturday. Don't use it as a crutch.
Not.
Here's why. Once you lead a game 7-3, 7-5, you ain't sick anymore.
Right.
Okay, did you all of a sudden get sick at 7-5 and allow Fairfield Prep to get 6 unanswered? Because then all of a sudden you got healthy and you made it a 1-goal game and then you lost by 2.
You're right.
So if the Greenwich camp is saying the reason they lost to Fairfield Prep was because they weren't feeling well, stop it. Now, I'm going to take a couple more little pokes at my guys in Greenwich. I love these guys. Kyle Flint, listen up, pal. Okay? Here we go. He told this to the Greenwich Time after the game. Now, our guys were up there, too, writing stories. Maybe they didn't say it. They didn't say it to our guys. No one really respected us coming into the year. Kyle, you're 100% right. I did not do my due diligence. I did not do a good job researching this team.
Braemar did.
I didn't have them ranked in the first poll. But, and they still don't, even after the big wins we've had. Whoa! Foot! Come on, man. Hopefully, this shows everyone we are the real deal. But if I'm not mistaken, before they lost to Fairfield Prep, we had them as high as number 8 in the Tri-State.
Yeah.
Okay?
And
now my man Decker Curran.
And they're on their way back up.
Deck, what are you doing to me? Here we go. Deck, our game plan, that's a very good quote, breaking it down. We watched a ton of film on Chaminade. We saw how they pressed for the ball. We felt we spun the ball, moved it. I love the quote. And then what happened? Today, we showed that we shouldn't be underrated. Who's underrating Greenwich? You know, like I love to say all the time, we didn't drop you from 8 to 19.
Yeah.
You dropped yourselves. You dropped yourselves. Now,
You're going back in the right direction, though.
100%.
It was a tough week in the poll.
It was a very tough week.
Mr. Lax, too.
Mr. Lax struggled. You know, it's funny. One of the Greenwich dads, it was very funny. Because this whole Mr. Lax thing is a joke. You threw it to me because I always say I'm a baseball guy. And when I left the Chaminade St. Anthony game 2 weeks ago and went up to the prep game, I was coming from the bathroom.
It really comes from the fact that if you go back, now I'm with you since 1992. If you go back to like 2002, 2003, we were at the Garden, and I used to say, you know, we used to stop our sort of show after basketball.
Right.
And I say, why don't we can't do baseball because you can't shoot baseball with one camera the way we shoot things for highlights. I go, why don't we do lacrosse? And you go, I'm a baseball guy. I can't do lacrosse. For years. And then we finally started lacrosse, and about 4 years into it, you're breaking down teams, and I go, all of a sudden, you're Mr. Lax.
You're
and
right.
There it is.
Well, it's funny because
I can't do lacrosse. I'm a baseball guy.
But I never referred to myself until this year. I just, you know what, let me just throw it out there, right? I forget which Greenwich dad it was, and I was coming from the bathroom after that 2 hour and 2 minute drive from Mineola to Fairfield U. And he goes, this was hysterical. He goes, hey, how's Mr. Lax feeling? Because Mr. Lax the day before was struggling with his voice and everything. Right. And I'm like, yeah, and I actually referred, I was like, Mr. Lax is starting to feel better. I was like, what am I doing?
Third person, Mr. Lax.
I'm a first baseman. Oh my gosh, it's incredible. So yeah, Mr. Lax has got some work to do about this poll. And if you think about it, we try to put the poll to bed on Monday nights, but we've kept the poll open tonight because Connecticut lacrosse is very relevant today on Monday in the poll because Ridgefield hosts Summit.
Right.
Fairfield Prep
the zone,
comes out here to St.
Battle
Anthony's.
Of the zone.
But Colsey can't play zone. Not allowed to.
That was in that sit down that Ridgefield Lacrosse had with Summit Lacrosse, in which Jim Davidson voluntarily spoke over the nuances of the Ridgefield of the Summit zone, which Ridgefield now uses.
Right.
Coach Colsey and company, the zone that holds
which they've
Garden
perfected.
City holds Garden City scoreless for 2 quarters.
And
that
Yorktown
holds,
can do nothing.
Holds Yorktown right. The deal was, okay, you can have our zone, Summit said to Ridgefield, but when we play, well, you got to go back to man. Okay, no problem. Colsey's stand-up guy, no
like
problem.
Colsey, he's guarded with you, right? He doesn't know what to make of you. If you're a media guy or a
he's
friend.
Like a media guy, you know what I mean?
Did he say anything about my nephew, Kean?
They really like your nephew, Kean Quick, the senior, going to walk on at Drexel. You know, just he's got that, you know, quick toughness, he said. You know what I mean? He must be referring to your brothers.
Yeah, no, I'm not a tough guy.
He gave it. The coaching staff gave me a couple examples how they got to at times kind of tone him down in practice because he's going a little too hard for his teammates.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We don't want to get anybody hurt here, but Richfield's got a spectacular array of college lacrosse players on this. I mean, their best player, Will Bonaparte, heading to Maryland, is still out. They don't know if he's going to make his way back, but Matthias UPenn and Volante Loyola. Dirth, the sophomore, going to Syracuse. Quick, Drexel. Alexander Navy. Mara Dickinson. Carbone, Providence. Boley, St. Lawrence. Bunt, Wheaton. Esplanade, I think it is. Brown. Chad Chris is going to go to the NHL and play hockey. He's leaving the school after this year. But,
he is definitely leaving?
Matt, yes, absolutely. He's going to head to the USA Hockey Olympic developmental. He's that good. Brendan Winnie, we haven't spoke about, the lefty keeper, you know what I mean, whose brother Adam Winnie was an all-state goalie a few years ago, now CW Post, and in the 5th grade, Adam made Brendan a goalie. He said, step in between the pipes. and he's a lefty. You know, so there's a lot of good stories. Matt Philbin's going to PG a year at
To
Trinity.
me, he's the most valuable player on this team.
But you know, his rise to prominence came a little late in the process. But
we'll show you the Yorktown Ridgefield highlights in a second. But Jim, watching that Yorktown Ridgefield, listen, if you like defense and everything, you were going to love that Yorktown Ridgefield game. I didn't like it. I thought it was boring. I think lacrosse has become boring. I got to be honest with you. And at the first 12 minutes of the New Canaan Darien game on Saturday, I'm like, oh my God, here we go, scoreless lacrosse, you know. And New Canaan and Darien have two of the best baseball teams in the FCAC this year. I'm thinking, man, I should just go watch them. And then all of a sudden, buddy, like that, this game turned into one of the classic New Canaan Darien games of all time. And even Braymeyer said it. He had that whole big smile on his face after the game. He goes, it was really good, right? I said, it was better than good. This game was too good to talk about. Let's show it. Last year, New Canaan had beaten Darien twice. That didn't sit well for Kyle Cornell and the boys. KC, bound for Providence next year, gave the Blue Wave a 1-0 lead, now tied at 1. Kyle's like, you know what? Forget this. We're not playing from behind anymore. Look at the pass from Borgone, who was great in this game.
Foreshadowing that move right there from X behind, foreshadowing of things to come in overtime.
Yeah, now we tied at 2. Michael Kraus, going to play for the Cavaliers of Virginia. Woo! Beats Huffer.
That works.
Topside, tied it at 2. Canaan going to take the lead and then go up 4-2. Robbie Paul steps into it, just unloads.
New Canaan played this game like the two-time defending FCAC champs. You could tell they wanted to make a statement in a tough place to play.
4-3 now off the ensuing face-off after a goal. Blue Wave pushes it. Johnny Reed, the Bucknell bounder, on the doorstep. Quick sticks it, tied at 4. Justin Meitner would score with 2.3 seconds left in the half. So the Rams take a 5-4 lead into the break. Third quarter. Look at this. Lindley.
Epic. Oh, determination.
Even his mom had to love that, and she's a very tough critic.
And that's just of me.
Tied at 6 now. Lindley, submarine. He's got a little sweat. If I did that, I'd have a knee operation. Here's Lindley again. Look at this. This time brings that defense out, finds a cutter on the back door. A little deke and dob. Colin Minikis. I said I'd put a face on it. If Minikis and Niffen play well, they'll write their way into Blue Wave folklore. They were both great in the game. End of the third, 8-7 Darien. Fourth quarter, Max Bagoon ties it at 9. Darien retakes the lead 10-9, but Meitner, wraparound, ties it at 10. So we go to overtime, and you break this down. You loved everything about Borgone on this play.
Because look, Mike, he doesnking give up on it. First he tries to go top side. Now watch him change direction. He goes lefty back to righty, and boom, there's the assist to Reed. That's a play-making attackman making a play. Don't just pass the ball along. Make a play.
It's so funny because when I talked to you last night, you hadn't seen this game, you hadn't seen these highlights, and you were so into the fact that you're not seeing enough this year from the X.
Yeah.
And when you walked in today and saw that, you went crazy.
Listen, we know it's about ball movement. We know it's about getting the defense moving. We know it's about, moving that ball around, but the ball has become too spread from the cage. The cage is here, everybody's spreading out wide, and they're just circulating the ball around. The game has to gravitate towards the goal, okay? You get the defense moving, it creates passing lanes, and you saw right there, come from behind. You're either going to draw a slide, feel the double, move back out, start it over, but try something, and he did, and it paid off.
You know what payback is?
What's that?
Sweet.
Your money?
It's sweet. Right, John?
Yeah, it's a big rivalry game, and they got us twice last year, so it was kind of redemption for us, and we were just able to get the best of them today. They're a great team, but we were able to win in OT.
Now, this game went back and forth. Each team matched each other for goals. Neither team could really distance themselves. What is it like to play in a game like that where okay, we have a 1-goal lead here, but they're going to come back on us soon?
Yeah, it's really tough. It's a lot of highs and lows, a lot of momentum shifts, but we were able to buckle down and bury when we needed to.
Beautiful, beautiful. He won the game with his feet, Mike Reed. He won that game with his feet.
Yeah.
It's about all that footwork from behind the cage. Once upon a time, you sent me out to do lacrosse tips with the great Casey Powell. Okay, and we did these 10 tips. And Powell said time and time again, he did all his damage, or a lot of his damage from behind the cage using his feet. It was his footwork, changing of direction. And you know, it's just, sometimes you make a play with your feet in the game of lacrosse where people always think it's about stick work. No, it can be your feet too.
Yeah, too much of this game of lacrosse has become Dean Smith's four-corner offense. It's just milking the clock. Darien, big week.
Trap game.
This ain't last year. Darien is lining up the people who beat him a year ago and knocking them down. And one of those out-of-state teams that beat them a year ago was Yorktown. They go to Yorktown Thursday night. They host. I'll tell you this right now, though. Darien, their fans have got to do a better job. I thought New Canaan had a much better turnout than Darien on Saturday.
Wow.
Absolutely.
And tough for both Darien and Greenwich to look ahead to Saturday.
Absolutely.
Because you mentioned, you have Yorktown and Bronxville. And if you're a Greenwich fan, you're thinking, well, Bronxville's got 4 losses. They've lost to Bridgewater Raritan by 2 goals. They lost to Yorktown 13-10. They lost to Garden City by 2 goals, and they lost to Sachem North, by 1 goal. So that and Bronxville went to the state finals last year in New York. So that's almost like a trap game for Greenwich, seeing Bronxville on Thursday before Darien on Saturday.
I'm gonna go to that game.
Yeah,
I think I'm gonna watch Greenwich on Thursday and Saturday.
It'll be very tough for both Darien and Greenwich to come into Saturday not off a loss. They're gonna have to earn. Both of them have to earn Thursday victories.
You're right. You're right. Do you remember the first game you ever did play-by-play for?
No. Like in any sport?
Yeah, like when you were breaking in as an announcer. Seriously.
You know what? I really don't.
Really?
I really, really don't.
You know what the first game I ever announced in my life?
That's terrible that I don't know that.
That's a terrible job. That's a terrible.
You know why? Because I did sidelines for so many years as the third announcer, so I'm thinking of those games.
You really don't know.
I really don't. I'm going to say it was in Bergen County, though, somewhere. I don't know.
Well, I started in this business as a cameraman.
It was Bosco football.
I started in this business as a cameraman, and Steve Christie and Dennis Buckman, they were the color and play-by-play guy for Cablevision back in the mid-'80s. And I was at Darien High School setting up my camera, and the call came in that Steve Christie had the flu, and he wasn't going to work the game. And Dave Rubin, who was the producer, he said, listen, you've always wanted to do this. You got to go home, change, because I live in Norwalk.
Right.
I raced home, changed, because the game was at Darien. I drove over to New Canaan High School where I met Lou Marinelli for the first time. He gives me all his time. This is before their biggest game of the year, New Canaan Darien. It's a huge rivalry, right? And I got in there, did the game. I'll never, ever forget this.
See, you have a good story. That's why you remember yours.
I will never, ever forget this. And the guys in there will think this is funny. Because when you do camera and stuff, and I would do game camera or hero camera and stuff like that, and you're working it, and you kind of will, if they say, hey, get this shot, yeah, I got it. The first time Ruben said to me in my ear, okay, we need you to talk about this highlight. I'm like, yeah, okay, I got it, no problem. They're like, stop talking back to us. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. This is all going out on the air, right? So imagine you're this cat, Brendan Baker, from New Canaan High School. Steve O'Keefe calls me, okay, and says, we're down an announcer. Would you like to do the game? I said, buddy, I got to be honest with you. If it was football or basketball, I would have jumped in, I'm not a play-by-play guy, but I would have done it for football and basketball. Mr. Lax doesn't know lacrosse well enough to call the game, so I said to O'Keefe, sit tight, I'm going to make a phone call. I text my man Baker. I hope his parents don't hear this. I said, you got to get out of class. I need to talk to you, right? ASAP. He calls me back. I said, what's up? He's like, hey, you want to call this game tomorrow?
Class is a senior at New Canaan High School.
He's a senior at New Canaan High School. He was in the Bruce Peck Iron Eagle Sportscasting Academy, and I taught him.
That you're the executive director of.
I teach the advanced class, right? And I had him, and I knew this kid could do this. There was no doubt in my mind. The V Awards, he was always right there.
Right.
Okay? But you could take all the V Award winners, and he would come in second or third, but it didn't matter. He's a winner in my eyes. And I knew he could do this. With less than 24 hours notice, the University of Missouri bounder, Brendan Baker, got the call, answered the call, and was working as a professional announcer Saturday in the biggest rivalry in the state of Connecticut, New Canaan and Darien, and he had to work overtime in his first ever gig.
On a picture-perfect spring afternoon in Darien, Connecticut, MSG Varsity presents FCAC Boys Lacrosse between the undefeated 8-0 Darien Blue Wave and the 7-2 New Canaan Rams. Hello again, everybody. I am Brendan Baker. When it comes to Connecticut high school lacrosse, it doesn't get much better than Darien and New Canaan. And for today's game, these two teams find themselves in a familiar spot near the top of the FCAC standings. We are still all locked at 0. Will the man advantage be where New Canaan draws first blood? Here's Stanton with a shot, and they do. Harry Stanton rips it past the keeper, and New Canaan with the first goal of the day takes the 1-zip lead. Cornell doesn't pull the trigger there. Instead gives it back to Burgoyne. Spinning near the crease, pass in front for Cornell, and that's number 2. Back-to-back goals for the senior Kyle Cornell. That's 2 straight for the Blue Wave, and Darien has a 2-1 lead over New Canaan with 5:48 in the second quarter. Justin Meichner now behind the cage. A long stick on him. Meichner spinning, wraparound, shooting, and he scores! New Canaan is back in the lead. Justin Meichner. That's his second of the day, and New Canaan takes a 3-2 lead with 2:10 in the second quarter. Peter Lindley, the senior, with it now, number 6 in white. Changing directions, gets double teamed, and somehow puts it in the goal. Completely sandwiched by 2 New Canaan defenders, has the strength to get a shot off and get it past Nader. And we're all tied at 5. Go back to it. Darien has won the last 2 face-offs, and they've scored the last 2 goals. Seth Nealman comes up with the draw that time. And New Canaan will be able to stop the bleeding at least till halftime. They do more than that, in fact. They score 2.3, and New Canaan scores. It's 5-4 now for the Rams. Ian Burgoyne with it behind. Graham Wagner, the senior short stick, watching him as Burgoyne tiptoes the crease, gets it in front for Reed, and he scores! John Reed, and it's over. 59 seconds into overtime. John Reed with the game winner, and that'll do it. Darien's perfect season is still alive. They're now 9-0. They win it 11-10.
It's unbelievable.
Wow. Solid.
You know, I stood with him. He was nice enough to give me this. The big-time announcer found some time.
Oh, excellent. Did he sign it for you?
I'm going to get
That's
him
a
to
nice
sign
shot.
it. You know,
He looks like an announcer. He looks
does.
like a young Tom Brady. He looks like an announcer. But he was, listen, he really could not have done any better. I thought that, just breaking it down, as a play-by-play guy, he had very good information on his calls.
Great.
Okay. Even on the game winner, Burgoyne to Reed, he let you know that Burgoyne had a shorty on.
Yes, he did.
Which is like from a lacrosse standpoint. And like I'm thinking to myself, I just said to myself, honestly, sitting here watching it, I just said, Jimmy, you don't say that enough.
Really?
Like he's got a shorty on him, which is a factor.
That's why I didn't do this game, and that's why he did.
Right, because he was, Burgoyne having that shorty on him, he's got more room, he's got more flexibility to make that pass and get that look. And he also played it straight. Don't forget, this is a high school kid who goes to New Canaan,
Yes.
gets a chance to call his buddies at his, he's on the road, but this is his school. He played it straight right down the middle. I mean, me in that spot, I probably would have been like, Darien, those lucky Blue Wave winning it. They always, you know what I mean? It's
Jordan
very good.
Griffin, who was writing the article for us in Varsity at the end of the first quarter. Now, here's Baker calling the game. Here's Jordan right here. He turns to him during the timeout. He goes, where do you go to school? He goes, I go to New Canaan. And Jordan turns and looks at me. He's
see
like,
that?
You got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
That's the greatest compliment he could receive. And parents said to me after the game, it's like, where did you get him? We got him from New Canaan. They're like, these are Darien parents. He's from New Canaan High School, so that I
We got
couldn't
him
have
from
been,
his home ec class.
I couldn't have been more proud of him.
Really?
I'm gonna
Brendan,
show that
unbelievable.
tape
Baker.
during the sportscasting camp.
Yeah.
This year, how it's about making contacts and relationships. His parents didn't come to the game. They watched it
Of
at
course they
home
did.
on MSG Varsity. So I couldn't have been more proud. And then I will never wear a Boston College shirt again to a Darien game.
It was trouble?
You go to Boston College? No. You know why I wore the Boston College shirt? Because I knew my man Pete Graham would be there, right? Played at Notre Dame,
Right, so
part of
what-
a national championship team. I wanted a Notre Dame shirt, and I knew it would upset Graham.
Oh, jeez. A little leverage there.
So that would do. I mean, as soon as I walked in, he goes, "What?" Hey, by the way,
That is shameless.
his son Timmy, he's looking good. He's not getting a lot of time with
Right.
the varsity on the lacrosse team. He's throwing the football great.
And Brendan Baker's going to the University of Missouri.
Yes,
Very nice.
that
was amazing.
That
the
to me,
timing of it was everything. You know, not 2 days to think about, 2 weeks to think about it. You know, not like building towards it for which kind of helps too because he probably you don't want to have too much information.
But you have to remember, he does. New Canaan has an unbelievable television department in the school.
Right.
He calls a lot of the games.
Right.
So, to me, listen, we see a lot of games.
Yeah.
And that game was great. And I tweeted out right after the game, as great as the Darien 11-10 victory was against their arch rivals, New Canaan, the play-by-play call on MSG Varsity of New Canaan senior Brendan Baker was even better.
Yeah, solid.
Really proud of you, buddy.
Yeah, great info. I mean, listen, all the little info he had.
He should do
at
another
the
game
face-off
for
X,
us.
he lets you know he's won the last 2 draws. During one of the goals, they're back in the lead. Those are all things, you know what I mean, that
Time,
really good,
score.
polished play-by-play guys do.
No,
and I did remember my first one now. It was actually on radio. I was at the Garden when Grady won the city championship.
Oh, right.
WNYE, when I went to that little broadcasting
Right.
school. That was technically, but it wasn't TV, it was radio. That was the first professional thing I ever did. Grady winning the
Who was the director there?
Gary Axelbank.
Gary Axelbank.
I did the game with Cecil Harris, outstanding writer.
Wow.
Right now. So you made me think about that. You made me feel bad. I'm like, this guy's got a great story. I got nothing.
Yorktown has something now. They have a problem because, as we said earlier, this Ridgefield thing, this Ridgefield defense, we've gone on and on about it. So let's just show the highlights. Ridgefield, Yorktown, at one of the best places to watch high school sports in the tri-state, Tiger Hollow.
Yeah, Skylar Blair scores here.
Get that arm out of the
From
shot.
Chad Chris, 1-0 Ridgefield. Ridgefield just really owned the first quarter. Ryan Dunn off the ensuing faceoff. It was 2-0. They go to the second quarter. It was 2-1. Ryan Dunn, breakout performance, signature performance, said the coaching staff of his high school career. Dunn with his second of 3 on the day. Yorktown would come back though. Matty Gonzalez, bounce shot here, low one. Makes it a 1-goal game. And then when you know Yorktown, you better know where number 43 is. Connor Veracruz. Nicky B, Bonatabas, Veracruz. The patented overhand right. The game was tied at 3.
One of the few times he got a little bit of separation in that game.
Absolutely. He needs a little time and space. Look at Ryan Dunn. No crease violation called. Okay, it'll count. Dunn, his third. It was 4-3 Ridgefield. And then Ridgefield. Simon Matthias, the dynamic junior, heading to UPenn, makes it 5-3. And then the young man heading off to Dickinson. You're looking for a lefty crank? Look up Dylan Ma. Woo! From the 25-yard line, that is stepping out against a good goalie in Graham and Dylan Marr. Put a little something extra on that one. And again, Ridgefield, I've seen him a couple times in person. I saw him against Garden City. What more can you say? You beat the Trojans of Garden City. And now beating Yorktown. They are putting a few notches on their belt as Coach Colsey's club.
You don't have to say it. Dylan can.
Just amazing. We put ourselves on the map, such great wins, but we got our 2 goals still ahead. We got our 2 dreams. We got to just keep pushing forward. Bus keeps rolling. So.
Coach Colsey said he really likes this group. He enjoys showing up to practice, and he's impressed with the way that you guys were coming together. As a senior captain, how have you facilitated that?
Well, it's just so much fun. We're so close together as guys. We're just great friends too, off the field. So it's just we have amazing connections. It's just so much fun to play, and it's just amazing.
You don't have an older brother, right? You have
No.
2 sisters, right?
2 older sisters, yeah.
Could you imagine being the younger brother? It could work one of 2 ways. Oh my God, my older brother, just an unbelievable player. Or it's like, man, I'm never going to get out of the shadow of my older brother. Tough spot, right?
No doubt.
Tough spot. Last year, Zach Bartolo, for 3 years, was just a sensational player for Epstein and Brian McMahon. He's down in South Bend right now,
Nice.
playing for Notre Dame. Well, his little brother Mitch has had a very good year, but then one of those things where they can now say, Zach who? Last Tuesday night, against their crosstown rivals Norwalk High, Mitch, in overtime, gets the game winner.
Ugh.
They win it 6-5, and then what does he do the next game? They take on a pretty good Weston team. He has 5 goals.
Wow.
And 3 assists. Zach who? It's Mitch Bartolo. Here we go. The Senators take that unbeaten record up to Weston. The Trojans get on the board, Chris Gatt, but then McMahon goes on a run. James Campbell, good.
Lightning quick release there on James.
And then Justin McIntyre. His daddy Drew was one of my good friends when I was growing up as a tot in Norwalk.
J-Mac.
He runs. When I watched him against Norwalk, I did not need to see a roster. He runs just like his father. So Jimmy, just like that, Epstein retires. It's like, Epstein who?
Easy now. That's your,
No,
that's
I love,
a good friend of yours.
I love Epstein.
But listen, it is amazing when you look up and see Brian McMahon's record. And when you look at it, you almost got to look at it twice to be like, really?
Well, Coach Stockfish built the program at Ridgewood. Colsey gets a lot of the credit.
Ridgefield.
Ridgefield. But Stockfish was winning games before Colsey got there. So Andy leaves, becomes an assistant with Epstein at McMahon. Epstein's out, decides to go coach his kids. He's a wonderful coach. And now McMahon is one of 4 perfect teams left in the state of Connecticut. So when you look at the Senators' schedule, what they've done, you kind of say to yourself, okay, they're undefeated. They've done what they've had to, okay? But we're going to give them their signature win was against 5-5 Weston. The Ward game was not played on Saturday. Okay, so they're still going to have to make up the Ward game. So somewhere along the line, they'll figure out where to put the Ward game. But now it gets very, very difficult for the Senators. And this is a tough spot for me because everybody knows my son is at Norwalk High School. And let's just put it out there. Norwalk has the most losses in the state of Connecticut, and I will be totally fair about that, okay? But McMahon ain't running the table.
What do you think here? What's best? Is there 4-2, 3-3? I mean, as you said, they can't go 6-0 here with the likes of Greenwich, Ridgefield. Even St. Joe's, Trumbull, and Staples are not going to be walkthroughs for them.
Well, I didn't put the Fairfield Ward game on there because I don't know when it's going to be played. So they will have 7 games left. If they can go 3-4, that's really
right.
good.
Okay.
That's fair. That's really. They're not going unbeaten. There will be no unbeaten team in the league, I think, the rest of the year. Now, I'm counting, when I count Darien, I don't count, when I say unbeaten, it doesn't matter to me in the league. It matters overall.
Right.
And if Darien, with what they have left the rest of the year, think about this, Jer, right?
Yes.
They still have to play St. Anthony's.
May 15th.
They still have to play Yorktown.
May 8th.
They host Greenwich this weekend.
May
They go to
10th.
Tiger Hollow on the 17th.
Yeah.
And I am praying, you got to talk to Colsey. They need to make that game a 7 o'clock night game. Here's why. I'm picking up Katie from Elon. I'm going down on the 16th and coming back on the 17th. I figure I'll be rolling, it's a 10-hour drive. I'll be rolling back into Connecticut around 5:30. If you can get Colsey to make that a 7 o'clock game, I can watch that.
You know what? I probably could, because with a 7 o'clock game, he could go dirt biking all day.
With Carcaterra.
Exactly. There's no headlights on those dirt bikes.
I need you to do that for me with Colsey. Jim, you know how I feel about Coach Weissman up at Wilton. I love the guy.
Johnny Boy.
He's terrific. Did a little research, and give him credit. Every year, bring on St. Anthony's, okay? They want to play him every year. Here, we're going to give you one clip from this game. St. Anthony's, Connor Burns. Okay, that's it. 15-6, they win the game. Okay, so now, the way I see it, Wilton has not beaten St. Anthony's since at least 2008. and 5.
Right.
So right now, if you're Wilton and all the Wilton faithful who want to jump off the ship, don't. Remember last year, they got hot late. And what they do? They won a Class M title.
Yeah. They eliminated Darien after Darien had beaten them twice in the regular season.
You're right.
Did I jump you?
No, that was good stuff.
I'm just saying.
You're right.
Braemeyer's kid got the game winner.
You're
He's
right.
on Wilton.
Mr. Lax is now making some Wilton predictions.
Oh boy, here we
Okay,
go.
the Warriors,
That might
in
not be a
my
good thing.
eye, will be a factor. They're 4-6 right now. Their best wins, they don't have one. They do not have a best win right now. But I will say this: there is no team in the tri-state that played a tougher 5-game stretch than Weissman's Warriors. Lost to number 8 New Canaan, lost to number 19 Greenwich, lost to John Jay, who just beat our number 13 Iona Prep team. Thanks, Stack. They lost to number 9 Ridgefield, and they lost to number 5 Darien. Look at the combined records.
Yeah, the only problem
44-9.
The only problem for Wilton is against their good neighbors from Connecticut. There's some separation in those scores,
No,
Mike.
there are.
Is some. Those are not 10-9ers,
No,
7-6ers.
You're right.
there.
But a Weissman team always gets better. That's why Mr. Lax is back on the bandwagon.
Oh my God.
Okay, so
Riding
here we
high
go.
in April,
We-
shut down in May.
We are predicting they will beat the Cadets. They will beat the Wreckers. They will beat the Senators. I forget what Ludlow's nickname is, and I forget what Ward's nickname is. They will beat the Fairfield schools. And they will lose to Yorktown, which means they will end the regular season. In 2.5 weeks, they're going to go from 2 games under 500 to 2 games above 500. So how about that?
They got to work it out for them.
You
There's
think?
some ground to make up there, Mike.
No, there is.
You know?
But there is. But see, right now, they are in a battle to get that 8th spot to get into the FCAC playoffs.
Yeah.
Right now, if they can get, they're not going to win the FCAC championship.
No.
But get them into the FCAC playoffs, play well. See, you have to remember, the FCAC does an unbelievable job. Your body of work gets you into the playoffs. Once you get in, the coaches reseed you. So right now, I'm going to say it, and Stockfish, this is not because my son's at Norwalk. He's not even playing that much right now, okay? I think that if they reseeded right now, you look at McMahon, 8-0 right now. If they reseeded, McMahon would most likely be no higher than a 6. If Wilton gets in, Wilton will get a higher seed. St. Joe's will get a higher seed. So now that takes you to 6 already. Probably a 7 or an 8. But McMahon's going to get in. But hey, you know what? Think about that. Transitional year, new coach.
Yeah.
Now, he was the assistant. I think his wife started following me on Twitter last week.
Excellent.
Yeah, she was a great coach, too.
Mike, you can't have any complaints, though, this year because that FCAC is so stout, not only in Connecticut, but in the tri-state, that, hey, if you're a McMahon or a Wilton, you got to tip your cap to the Big Four up there this year.
No doubt.
You know what I mean? I mean, they are playing at a high level as far as the broad scope of lacrosse in the tri-state area. The best county championship, bar none, is in Connecticut this year. Conference, what do you want? FCAC or county?
No, the semifinals.
That's what I'm saying.
And Russ just helped me. Leave it to a Long Island guy to help a Connecticut guy that literally lives 12 minutes from Fairfield, Ludlow, are the Warriors.
Okay, but you're right. The
And
Final Four.
What
in
are they?
Connecticut-
The Falcons, right? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And see, you know what? It happens like when Walt Regula was a great receiver there at Fairfield. It was Fairfield High, and then it was 2 schools. Then they made it 1, and I lost track. But there's Mustangs too. So
Yeah,
there you go.
listen.
Dave Schultz, one of the
So-
great ADs anywhere. Here we go. Top 20. Jimmy, at the end of the year, it's conceivable. How many teams do you think at the end of the year? Should we put Greenwich in the top 20 this week?
They're in.
I don't know, but the way that Finner...
They went Skidoo last week?
No.
No, they went up
but
to
the way
19,
that
right?
Foot and Curran were talking,
No, they have to listen. They got to be right.
they
up there.
will make the biggest jump in the tri-state this week.
They should because they had the best week in the tri-state.
You know what's amazing? If McMahon somehow could could go 5-2, or if they go 6-1 in the rest of the regular season, McMahon would be in the Tri-State top 20 because that means you would have beaten either Darien or Ridgefield.
Listen, the Final Four of the FCIAC is going to be so much fun because Darien, believe it or not, even though they won a state title in 2012, they haven't won the FCIAC since 2011. They're playing with some desperation this year. This group feels like last year was a disaster. You know, they're almost embarrassed that they didn't make the state Final Four for the first time in a quarter of a century.
25
right?
years.
Okay, then you got Darien. That's Darien's story. Greenwich. I think they're playing with a little chip on their shoulder. Okay, last year it didn't end the way they liked. This year they're playing extremely high level. Ridgefield might have the most overall talent. You know what I mean? From back line to front line.
I think Greenwich does.
Okay, but I'm just saying, you can make the argument. We just gave you all those players from Ridgefield, where they're going. Listen, Ridgefield says this is the best team. Colsey says the best team I've had since I've been here. You know what I mean? He says this is it.
You're Colsey. You're Braemar. You're Buckley. You're Buzzio. And you can only win an FCIAC or a state title. You can. Mr. Lax is only going to give you one. What are you taking?
It's the FCIAC. It is 100%. What it is. I mean, it's a little bit of an aberration in Connecticut, but when you talk about high school football in the FCIAC conference, the FCIAC is a monster conference with all these wonderful institutions of academics and athletics, and the juice lies in the FCIAC championship.
You know, Braemar is closing in on number 500 career wins. I think he's been there for 32 years.
It's going to be 31st. This year's 31st. It's going to be, and it's going to be close.
It's going to be close.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be close.
But the year they're having, he could get it. And I will say this to Jeff, as I like to remind him all the time. Winning an FCIAC title is better than winning a state title.
He just wants to end it in a pile. That's that's where they go. Like Case Mathias did last year.
Well, Braemar's a baseball guy.
That's how he came there.
That's it.
Swimming, baseball, he coached it all.
Mr. Lax is out!